Hi folks, the Filipina Pea here, and it's time once again for your favorite segment, Mailbag Friday. There's nothing like being a fly on the wall and listening to other people's problems. And today we got three confused foreigners who just want to know what the heck's going on with their Filipinas. I know we're weird, I get it, but we're worth the trouble if you can just figure out what's wrong with us. This time, we have two guys who are totally confused by Filipino culture and how you're supposed to act in public, and a man who suspects there's some hanky-panky going on with his girlfriend and her girlfriend right under his nose. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. So our first email is from Raymond, who's visiting the Philippines from Western Canada. Raymond says, "Hello, Miss P. I came to Davao a week ago to spend time with a woman I met online. And although we're getting along just fine, I'm having trouble communicating with her. It's not that she doesn't know English words, it's that they seem to have a different meaning. And by the time she finishes telling me a story, I don't have a clue what she's talking about. She changes he to she, and when she's telling me something that happened years ago, she explains it like it's happening right now. I know it's just a language barrier, but when I ask her for a clarification of what she means, she gets frustrated and just does that tempo thing where she stops talking at all. Last night, I took her to a nice restaurant, but when our food arrived at the table, the chicken that I ordered was so dry I could barely even chew it. I told her I was going to send it back, and you should have seen the look of panic on her face. I explained that the food was completely inedible and I shouldn't be forced to choke it down. I was completely calm, but she made it clear I was doing something very wrong. She went from looking panicked to looking angry, and when I asked her why, she told me I wouldn't understand and got quiet again. I didn't push it because I've watched your videos about how foreigners aren't supposed to complain. And I figured I was breaking some kind of cultural rules, so I just shut up and ate what I could. I really like this woman, but if we can't figure out how to communicate better, I don't know how we can have a happy relationship. Now, I don't want to make this about whose fault it is, but are all Filipinos like her? Or am I just not being patient enough? Is it ever going to get any better?" Welcome to the Philippines, Raymond. I hope you're enjoying your stay, but I'm afraid that everything you mentioned is pretty common here, except for the way your girlfriend's reacting. Now let me see if I can break this down for you. But first, I need to correct something you said. I would never tell foreigners not to complain when you feel you've been treated unfairly or not gotten what you paid for. You absolutely have every right to say something about it. What I did say was that foreigners have a reputation for being complainers, and I suggested that you guys avoid getting really loud or making a scene because you can be very intimidating. You're sometimes twice our size, and when you get all red-faced and start shouting, it can feel a little threatening. But sure, if they serve you dried out chicken bricks, I'd complain too. But the reason your girlfriend didn't want you to send the food back might have had nothing to do with you embarrassing her by making a fuss. The real reason is probably because in the Philippines, whenever food gets refused by the customer, it's the employees who have to pay for it. It's deducted from their paycheck. And if a cook is only making $10 a day and you send back a $15 meal, well, you do the math. That's why Filipinos sometimes let things slide when it comes to getting the wrong order or something that doesn't taste like we hoped. And maybe your girlfriend was just trying to protect the staff. Now, when you ask her about it, she shouldn't have gotten so defensive and moody. This isn't your country, and there's no way you can be expected to know all our customs, even if you do watch my videos. Your girlfriend should have explained how things work here and then trusted you to make the right decision. And as far as the language stuff, that's just something you might have to get used to. We don't have separate words for he and she, which can make it impossible to follow a story. We also don't use the past tense the same way you do, so it's really hard for you guys to know when something happened. Now I know this sounds like a big ol' mess, and you're probably wondering how we can even keep this straight, but somehow, we just do. The point is, it's gonna take a while before you adapt to each other's way of speaking, or in the case of some couples, you just learn how to embrace the confusion. The only thing you really need to work on is why she uses tampo or the silent treatment whenever you ask her to repeat or explain something she said. But I have a theory. If a Filipino doesn't think their English is good enough, we often drop out of a conversation entirely instead of risking the embarrassment of sounding silly or speaking in a thick accent. We can also have trouble finding the English words for things, and if you try to help us, it makes us feel like we failed, and so we go silent. I don't know if you ever noticed, but sometimes when I interview a Filipino whose English is kind of weak, there's a lot of cuts in the video because they can't think of the word they want, and then they go quiet until they figure it out. So, to save them from public embarrassment and to save you guys half an hour of listening to dead air, I just cut that stuff out. So the next time it looks like your girlfriend's struggling, just remind her how amazed you are that she's learned so much English, which is a really difficult language to master. She'll eventually feel more comfortable trying to express herself, and she'll have to find something else to get mad about. Enjoy your visit, Raymond, and let me know if you ever find a place with decent chicken. So our next email is from Parker in Minnesota. Did I get that right? I've only heard of Parker as a last name, but that's what it said in your message, so that's why I'm calling you. Anyway, Parker's got a question about something I don't think I've talked about before. He says, Dear P, I'm here in the Philippines and I'm a little confused about what I'm supposed to do in certain situations. I tried to look it up online instead of bothering you, but I couldn't get a clear answer. No problem, Parker. That's exactly what I'm here for. And besides, this won't take long. I noticed that whenever a Filipino man reaches a door ahead of a woman, he almost never holds it open. He just walks right in like she's not even there. The only time I ever saw a man even notice a woman was when an elderly lady got on a bus and a guy gave up his seat so she could sit down. So what's the etiquette here? Do Filipinas expect you to cater to them, or will they get offended if you do? Well, this one's gonna be easy, Parker, because it's really simple to explain. You come from a society where chivalry was a big part of your culture, where you guys were supposed to throw your coat over a mud puddle so a woman didn't get her feet dirty. But our culture never went down that muddy road. If you get to a door first, you get to go through it first. But if the person behind you needs assistance, like an older woman or even an older man, then it's polite to hold the door. Same thing with a bus seat. If a pregnant woman or a really old person gets on, a younger person should give up their seat. We do things based on a person's need, not on chivalry or showing someone deference just because they're a woman. In fact, the Philippines had female combat troops back in 1993, a full 20 years before the US did. Now, I don't know if a tiny little Filipina could actually intimidate the enemy, but at least we look really cute when we go commando. I mean, dress like a commando. But just do whatever feels natural. No one's gonna be offended if you don't hold the door for him. But if you do, you'll probably get a big smile and maybe even a thank you. Foreigners might have a reputation for complaining, but you also have a reputation for being super polite. And now the email you've all been waiting for, and a situation that might be more common than you think. Here's an email from a man named Forrest, who currently lives in Metro Manila. Forrest writes, Filipina P, I got a really weird situation on my hands, and either I'm just imagining things or my girlfriend is cheating on me. I know that's nothing new, and I'm sure you hear it all the time. But just wait till you hear the whole story. I'm so sorry if it's a little long. So I met this young lady named Christina who was living in Manila. She was working as a receptionist for an attorney I was using, and we started going out. 2 months passed, and things were going well. Really well. It didn't take long before I wanted to make things exclusive. I know what you say about rushing things, but it's a lot easier when you're talking about someone else. When you're in love and retired, all you want to do is spend time together. And since my place is much bigger than I need, I did something against your advice, and I asked her to move in with me. But then I did something even more stupid. At the time, she had a really small apartment that only consisted of a countertop with a sink in it, a couch cramped up against a wall, and a bedroom that was only big enough to lay a mattress flat. And believe it or not, she had a roommate. And there was the problem. Even though the apartment was cheap, there was no way her roommate could afford it by herself. And my girlfriend didn't want to just abandon her, so you can probably guess what happened next. I offered to let both of them stay with me. I'm going to skip ahead a bit, but the first couple weeks went just fine. Christina's roommate, who was now my roommate, is named Maria. And it turns out she's a pretty decent cook. But I was starting to notice some strange behavior. At least it seems strange to me, but you can tell me if it's normal or not. Whenever we're watching TV, the two girls are always sitting together and usually touching each other. Not in a sexual way, but sometimes they have their arms around each other, or one of them might have her legs on the other one's lap. They even kiss each other on the lips when saying goodnight. Not a lingering kiss, just a friendly way. But it started to set off my gaydar. I asked her if there was anything I should know, but she acted so shocked and disgusted by my question that I figured I had it wrong. But then this happened. One night, we all decided to go out to eat, but the place we wanted to go was closing pretty soon. And I wanted to take a shower first because we'd been walking around town all day. And if you've ever seen Manila, you know I had to take a shower before I could enjoy a meal. So anyway, I get out of the shower and go into the kitchen. And I don't see my girlfriend or Maria, but the door to the other bathroom is closed and I can hear the shower going as well as hear their voices. A few minutes later, both of them walk out with wet hair and only wearing towels, acting like nothing's wrong. Now I don't know about Filipinas, which is why I'm asking you, but where I come from, that would be considered just plain weird. Later that night, after we went to bed, I asked my girlfriend about it, and she explained that they decided to take a shower before dinner too. When I asked Christina why she didn't get in my shower and let Maria have her own, she said I was already halfway through, and since we were all in a hurry, they got in together. But as if that wasn't enough, there was one last thing that's making me think I'm getting played. You know how you can just tell when you catch someone doing something they weren't supposed to be doing, even when you don't know what it is they were doing? Well, I walked into my bedroom the other day, and the two girls were standing next to the window, really close together. And when I appeared, they quickly stepped away from each other, like kids getting caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Just something weird about the way they looked startled, and how the room got really quiet all of a sudden. They were completely dressed, and they weren't making out or anything, so it's kind of hard to explain the feeling I got. But I know what I know. A lot of guys might say, "What the hell are you complaining about, Forrest? You're living every man's dream." But that's not how I feel about it. It's not that the idea turns me off, and in fact, we might be able to work something out if only she'd admit it. But it's the feeling that I'm just an old idiot that's getting used, and the sneakiness behind it. At this point, I don't even know if she even really loves me. I guess I should count myself lucky for what I have, and maybe that's what I'll do. But first, I need to know the truth. I think you're really fair and reasonable, P, and I value your opinion. So, what do you think? Well, I have to admit, I've never heard a story quite like that before, but maybe I can help you clear a few things up. Now, I know everybody's just waiting for me to use the line, "Run, Forrest, run," but that's not my advice. Yet. Let me take the things he mentioned one by one and tell you how weird they are on the Filipina scale. First, there was the touching each other on the couch thing. Now, I wasn't there to see it, so I can't really get the flavor of it. But if it was just casual touching, that's not really a cause for concern, because even Filipino boys put their arms around each other in public. To you guys, it looks really gay, but it's not. And girls are even worse. So on the Filipina scale, I'd give that a 1 or 2. Next was the kissing on the lips. Filipinos do that all the time too. But if the kiss lasted anything more than a nanosecond, then the weirdness score rises significantly. The way you told it though, I'd give it a 3. Then we get to the shower scene. Now this is gonna sound a little strange to someone from the West, but are you sure they were naked? Sometimes we take showers with our clothes on, especially when someone else is there. So is it possible that everyone was in a hurry so they just jumped in together with their clothes on? The answer to that question will determine whether this is a simple 5 on a scale or a 5-alarm fire. So I think you ought to ask her. And even though there was no nudity or warm water and soap suds, the last thing you told us about might actually be the most significant. It sounds like you interrupted a private moment, and I know exactly what you mean about people looking guilty as hell. But since we'll never know for sure what they were talking about, there's no way to know what's really going on. So for those of you that lost track of the score, we really don't have any proof of wrongdoing. I suppose you could put cameras in your place, but that seems like a different kind of wrongdoing. What I'd advise you to do is have a heart-to-heart talk and tell her that the most important thing is that you and she don't have any secrets from each other. Tell her that you're not going to judge her for being who she is, but that deception and living a double life just isn't going to fly. If you believe what she says, then give her a chance. If you don't, then it's time to run, Forrest, run. Or maybe it's time to live every man's dream. However this turns out, I really hope you let us know what happens. Good luck, my friend. And that brings us to the end of another episode. As always, if you want to ask my advice, just email me at the address in the description box and put the word mailbag in the subject line. I'll answer you as soon as possible, and you might end up in a video just like this one. Well, that's it for today's episode, and I'll be back on Tuesday and then again on Friday. Till then, folks. If you think about it, I'm kind of like a Hooters girl without the Hooters, serving you exactly what you need. A double shot of hot, fresh content twice a week. The only thing I ask for my service is a thumbs up on this video, subscribing to my channel, and hitting the notification bell so you know when your next meal is ready. If you want to become one of my favorite customers, please check out my Patreon page for extra content and exclusive features. To help you decide what to order, check out this delicious assortment of great choices. Now, what can I get ya?